Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 351. Hopefully, you guys have had an amazing Friday. I've got a great guest for us tonight, the Dank Duchess. You guys obviously know who she is from all the comments and great wishes. Looking forward to tonight's episode. Welcome, the Dank Duchess. Can you tell us how you are doing tonight, and again where we can find you in case they are missing it?
Okay, so I'm doing pretty fantastic. I will tell you that, like, for ease of conversation, I just go by Duchess. So that's like nice and easy. Just Duchess, okay? I'm feeling especially good today. My friend just came back from San Jose and needed to get a bit of weed, and it's always nice that you can make that connection where one friend is a grower, one person needs it. So I'm all smiles. Plus, I had a great Friday. Did you have a good Friday?
I had a great Friday as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for asking. Not too many people ask, but thank you for asking. I had a great day.
That's
Um,
good. That's
yes.
good. I kept a smile on my face because I microdosed first thing in the morning. Then I went to the gym for 2.5 hours. Then I had a nice big smoke and got some good work done. Um, you know, so I have a big smile on my face, and now I'm on the show with you.
I appreciate that. You
Hmm.
know, I do a little microdosing myself. I believe
Hmm.
everybody should. It's one of those things that I think that is should be pushed towards the forefront with a lot of
Hmm.
people. A lot of people have anxiety, and boy, the microdosing sure does help with that a lot, a
Hmm.
lot. So hopefully, it'll be wider used here in the future. So, but I'm glad it's brought a smile to your day.
Yes, yes. Oh, you see all the mushrooms? See, I got mushrooms on my wall because I'm like super pro mushrooms. Let me get my head out the way. So yeah, I paint all these mushroom paintings because I love mushrooms. I love mushrooms whether I'm
Well,
microdosing, whether I'm macrodosing. I love mushrooms.
nice. That's awesome. You might want to tune in Sunday. We've got another guest who goes by Pop Shrooms
Uh
on
huh. Oh,
Instagram,
nice.
who's going to come on and talk all about the different types of mushrooms and ways to take them and all that good stuff. So you
Oh,
might
that's
want to
good.
tune
That's
in
good.
on Sunday.
What time on Sunday? The same time, the same slot. What kind of
Same
night owl
time,
are you?
same
Oh my
every.
God, 11:30 to 5 something in the morning. See, I'm getting tired just thinking about it. Wait. I get tired just thinking about it. I happen to be an early bird though. I'm up at like 4:35 in the morning every day. So.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just different schedules. That's all.
Hmm.
That's
I
all.
used to be a night owl when I was younger. When I was in my 20s, so I used to be a web designer. That was my first career, right? So right after college, it is the end of the 90s, early 2000s. I was there coding HTML, and Notepad, trying to figure out the CSS in the back end at 3 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, But as I got older, I just transitioned to an earlier time. And somehow being here in California, get up first thing in the morning, a nice good smoke, exercise, I'm ready to go. But of course, I'm knocked out like by 10 o'clock. Old lady.
No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that.
Oh, I mean, you know me. Oh,
So,
I'm an old lady. I'm a skater and all those things, but old lady in my own way.
yeah, skater too.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I can't wait to hear this story.
I was pissed off. My board is right there. I was pissed off yesterday and today. It's in 2 days of raining, and so no skating. No skating. Probably tomorrow. Go over to Alameda, skate by the beach. It'd be nice. But yeah, skating also. And I picked that up after 30. I had a client that my husband and I have a massage business in Miami Beach, and we had a client that had picked up skating, and we bought him a skateboard, and we figured, well, we better get a skateboard. And now I'm obsessed. You know what I mean? So we have like 7 or 8 skateboards. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, basically, I'd like to know when cannabis entered your life. When did cannabis enter your life? When was the first time that cannabis crossed your path? That's usually where we start.
No problem. I mean, cannabis crossed my path first time in the DARE program with regards to the fact that, like, definitely Just Say No. I grew up in the 80s, and Just Say No was pretty drilled in my head. So although I'm like all about the weed now, I definitely wasn't pro weed. High school or college, I graduated college. I had never, ever, ever had anything to do with weed because everyone knew that weed was gonna, kill your brain cells. So why would I be messing with that? And then I met this guy. And I was so enamored with him. He was so smart and had such interesting ideas, such off the wall ideas. But he like loved weed, and I just couldn't put those things together. But I was super in love with him, super in love with him, and we moved to Florida, and he's still smoking weed, and I'm actually really denigrating him about it. I was a real fucking bitch about the whole situation for about 2.5 years, and then one day, a beautiful piece of glass just totally invited me into this world. It was on our counter in the kitchen, just a piece of glass, and I felt like as a designer, it was so well formed that nothing having to do with this glass could be that bad. And I said, you know what? I'll take the puff this time. And I took the puff. My husband like jumped across the kitchen, just like flew with the lighter in hand. And I took that puff and I immediately, when I say immediately, like I exhaled and then immediately did a calculus problem because I was a math major in college. And this was like the big thing. I was worried that I was going to like lose my brain power. And I did that calculus problem like, bam. I was like, these fuckers lied. It was just like that. So I went from being anti-cannabis to pro-cannabis in one puff and realizing that they had lied. Just the concept that they had lied just let me know that the foundation on which I was standing was just so shaky. So I only had one really, in a way, bad experience right after that, which was the come downs. And the first time you have come downs, at least as an adult who's like already worried about losing their brain power, that kind of spaciness, whatever, I was like, oh my gosh, I have become stupid. I've become a stupid hot pothead. But once I realized that passed, the next day I was on it. And so within just a couple of months, I went from being anti-cannabis to a cannabis grower just because we had spent so much money buying weed and I wanted to smoke weed all the time just to understand the grays of life. I was just so black and white about everything, and cannabis gave me just so many more perspectives that I felt that I know I had the experience that I had the life that I had, but I felt that other people had a benefit of a mind expansion by having tried cannabis earlier than I did. So I was kind of making up for lost time. So, and that was in Florida. So that was its own whole, I had a whole set of paranoia for 10 years growing in Florida because it was freaking Florida. And that was before Florida had any kind of medical, and just having a joint was enough for you to go to jail. I was in Miami. You could talk about coke all day long in Miami, but weed was definitely not as openly spoken about. And then people who cared about their career definitely were pro coke. But like weed is just for lazy people. So I didn't feel like I had a stigma directly in my face, but at the same time, I had two different lives that I was living. One that was like a super upstanding middle class black women in the right organizations, knowing the right people, going to the right type of events. And then afterwards at home with my husband, smoking weed and feeling as in tune with my plants as I could imagine feeling, and not understanding why my life was fractured in this way. But in 2014, after I had gone to Colorado in 2013 and Seattle also in 2013 for the High Times Cups, the first legal High Times Cups here in the country, I just felt like the time was now. Like, not, I wasn't going to wait. I just didn't want to wait. And Florida was saying it was going to change and da 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 da, it was going to be on the ballot. I knew Rick Scott was a freaking devil. I knew that shit wasn't going to work out. So after I saw what the experience of the cannabis industry could be just through being in Denver and being in Seattle, my husband and I, we moved out here in 2014 just to do something completely different and just to be as open as we could possibly be within the cannabis industry, and as open as we could be with ourselves and our family and such like that. But even though I came over here and I started making hash within 3 months of being here, I was still really, really secretive about the whole situation until I ended up in France because of hash. And I just thought that, like, you know what, now is the time to just throw away any shackles of any concept of a stigma and whatever. And I announced to like all my friends and family via Facebook. So I didn't like parse out the information. I just kind of like told everybody, by the way, I'm in California because of cannabis. And that has been good for me. Just being open like that has allowed me to meet all kinds of people like you and everybody else who I've met within the industry by being, authentic, just being myself. And I think that if we encourage more people to just be themselves, and cannabis does that, then we'll have a whole lot happier people in the world. So that's how I like started this situation. It really was, I was anti-cannabis. The glass pulled me in. I smoked, became a grower, then I moved here. And all the things that fill in are interesting stories for sure, but that's just like how I got into it altogether.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I love the piece pulling you into the cannabis. Yeah, I've never heard that as far
So
as an influence or a draw to try it,
it
but
was
it's very intriguing.
honey, it was a simple teardrop shape, like it was like it was probably like soft glass. I'm telling you, it was a teardrop shape with some color, not exactly even fuming, but some color in between. But the whole thing about it was so wholesome. I can still see it on the counter, and I am thankful every single day just for that experience, because I was headed down the wrong path in the sense that I was completely anti cannabis, and I was going to miss out on what has been just 20, almost 20 years of an awesome experience. Being a hash maker here in California and being a consultant all over the world, all of that started from that one experience of opening up my mind. And cannabis did that for me. And cannabis, did that with regard to mushrooms as well, allowing me to be open enough to be open to mushrooms. And then the mushrooms have done like their own fantastic thing.
I'm glad. I'm glad they did. Yeah, but almost leads in a little bit into the stereotype, just a little bit,
I know,
that
right? In
it's
terms
the
of this
gay. Yeah.
gateway situation, which you will not find me. I'm always so funny about like the word usage and such like that. So I do recognize, and I'm glad that you said that. So I will have that in my head to make sure to never say, like, frame it in that way, even though it was not as a step of I need something greater, but rather I had such a narrow idea of what reality could possibly be, and cannabis opened up the door, and then mushrooms lifted the veil. So it was just, all these things that happened. And I'm just really thankful to that. I mean, after mushrooms, I tried a little bit of acid. I'm not anti the idea. I tried a little bit of acid because I felt more comfortable in the my intuitive response to substances. And although the acid was great, I'm a mushroom kind of gal. I'm a mushroom kind of gal. But yeah, thank you for letting me to. Yeah, I don't want that to be associated in like I went from the cannabis to this and that and that, because that's how the naysayers really want to hold on to the children. You're enticing them with stuff, and it's like, nah, you're not gonna propaganda us to death anymore. You're not gonna do that. We're not gonna stand for that. We have people like you who are having shows that, you normalize cannabis by showing that the people who could be their neighbors are people who use cannabis, people who are just people. We have our issues. Like me, you mentioned anxiety. That microdosing really does it, for me. I love to macrodose, but microdosing on a regular basis, 2020 sucked ass. I mean, sucked ass. And whereas a lot of people were like, oh, I smoke a lot more, to deal, I found that I actually smoked less, but it was because I was dealing with the mushrooms, which had me seeing situations a little bit differently, not taking things personally, just really moving with the flow that cannabis, and I love her to death. I just didn't need as much. I just didn't need as much. So,
So, what enticed you onto the growing side?
oh,
Was it the cost factor, or did you just, yeah?
it was the money. Like, I was actually really afraid of growing things because when I was younger, I don't know, I was a little bit sadistic when I was younger. I used to have these cacti. I'm looking at my cacti right now, but I used to have these cacti, and I wanted to be a doctor at the time, and I had this doctor set. I'd stab the cacti and try to extract their fluid, and so therefore they of course went brown after a while and died, and that stuck in my head like somehow I had some sort of a brown thumb. But what I didn't have is enough greenbacks in my wallet to afford my psychic, the exploration of mind that I was going through at 24. So it was a situation of, we bought a couple of High Times magazines, we bought some Skunk magazines, and tried to follow along as best as possible. And I made a lot of bad weed in the beginning. I mean, a lot of bad weed. But you just keep pushing, and here I am, almost 18 years later. And I grow pretty nice weed now. So, you know, um, I wonder if there's a way. Do you know? I wanted to see this. Okay. A couple of High Times magazines. I muted it. It's fine. I was trying to figure out how I could get in the chat, like with everybody, but also not be there. Okay, so yeah.
So, it's funny because I appreciate the people that don't, bullshit, because I took it on for the same reason. Like, I just got tired of paying for it, for the good stuff anyway. I, I figured I could just, for what I was paying for it, I looked at that figure and I was like, I got to be able to grow that shit for
real.
For that. I don't care what my electric bill, it can't equal that right there. It just can't.
True. Though, because you're growing HP with HPS, right?
I grow with everything, to be honest with you. I have the T5s going. I have LED lights. I have HPS. I know, all in flower and veg. I'm a caregiver here in Michigan. So I take care of myself plus 5 patients. I'm allotted, 72 patients, or 72 plants, not patients. So, I do kind of flip things around and experiment with lighting.
That's
I love
good.
the LED. As soon as I could actually get anything switched over, I will. But there's still 4K tried and true. 4K tried and true. There's nothing wrong with those fixtures. I'm not tearing them down.
I'm growing LEDs for the first time this year. So I really like the LEDs I have. I have the comp. Do you want to see them? I can go into. Do you want to see
Sure.
them? Okay. Of course, we're moving with
Yeah.
my laptop and not my actual my phone. But we'll see. So I have these Comp LED. It's a hash crafter, right? From this company called Comp LED. My eyes are so dry. And they're in Germany. Oh shoot! What time is it? Oh, it's too late. It's my lights turn off at 6:30. I'm so sorry. So they're from Germany, and what I like about them is that they're tunable LEDs. This is for my plants and vegging under this particular T5. I have a bigger one coming. So I was gonna show you my. Honestly, it's completely black. But what's nice about it is that it's completely tunable. It's an app that you can look at your phone or your computer, and I can schedule years in advance, like how I want my lights to turn on and off, at what intensity, what's the spectrum of the blue, white, and the red. It's very, very, very nice. I'm sorry, I don't know why I didn't think about the fact that it's 6:30. It's past 6:30. But yeah, these LEDs. So I didn't. I'm first to admit that I didn't do everything that was right with the LEDs. For one, I was really afraid to set up this hub situation that the LED comes with, and so I had it on a basic timer, just like I would have had with my HPS, where it's just like on and off type of thing. Not understanding the benefits of, because it's tunable and you can set all these light recipes. It ramps up. So like when I first start in the morning now that I'm doing it right, it starts off at 10% of all the colors before it ramps up a little bit more, and then before it's like really really on. So because I wasn't using the hub and I wasn't paying attention to all the what the engineers provided, I was actually starving my plants for about half of the light that they needed. So I went all the way to week 5, and my plants were getting half the amount of light, so that stunted their growth to a degree, which kind of sucks. And then I fixed the situation, and the buds are nice. I'm looking forward to when I take the pictures and such of the trikes. I looked at a set of trikes this morning before I cut down, and so it looks nice. But we all have room to grow, whereas I can do my setup with my HPS with my eyes closed because I'm just so used to that. Doing the LED, and I like the LED, so I'm totally fine that like I didn't do my most ideal situation. And I'm learning. I'm learning with that. I'm learning. Ooh, that is tasty. That is tasty.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I think that goes with everything. If we're not learning anything in general every day, we're kind of doing something wrong. You know what
Oh,
I
for
mean? We
sure.
should be striving to take something new in every day. I don't think I don't think we're ever done learning. We'll
Oh,
never
I
be
would
done
hope not.
learning. I don't think.
Who that life would be boring if we were just like, I've reached the capstone of everything that I could possibly know. No, man, let's always be expanding, and we learn from each other. Sometimes hearing other people's perspectives is the key thing to being able to make that level up. We often think we have to generate our own ideas. No, sometimes other people seed us and other people water us. Yeah. So. So Michigan, have
So,
you been there your whole
what
life?
type
Oh,
of
I know this is about me, but I'm like, have you been in Michigan your whole life? I'm interested in what's going on with you too.
I've left the state a few times, but I've lived here my whole life.
Hmm.
I've ventured out a few times, but yeah, I've kept my roots here in Michigan. Different locales, but here nonetheless.
I understand.
I listen to all these great stories, and I'm like, I think, man, I've missed out such
What?
great stories, of travel and stories of Himalayan spending time in the Himalayas, being spending time with the monks. Mila, some of my favorite guests have been Mila Jensen, the Hash Queen, and Indra. Both of them have incredible stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to name a few, but there's so many great people that have walked so many great paths,
Hmm.
and sometimes I think, well, I should be traveling. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
encourage that.
So much life out there.
I'm gonna say this. Look, hon, my end all be all of what I'm trying to do besides help other people along the way. I'm all about that, because I'm all about the education. But I'm trying to touch land races around the world. Just, oh my god, the idea of making hash of just about anything I can put my hands on, that is what drives me, like makes me look for something. I actually am about to buy some seeds, a particular two hash plants from Afghanistan and the Moroccan Beldia, which are like, I mean, obviously not hype strains at all, but these are the places that have been making hash, and I'm looking for different strains for making dry sift, something that's just totally different. I feel like because I have definitely the privilege and the opportunity to grow and make hash of whatever I want for the purpose of just me experimenting. I'm taking that opportunity to do that and then publish my information to everybody so that like everyone has the opportunity to vicariously live through that experience. But as soon as this COVID situation is done, hun, I am back to traveling like hardcore. And I would say one of the things that have made me feel closer to people like Mila and Frenchie and all kinds of other solventless people in the game, whether they're here or abroad, is the fact that we've traveled together. And I myself am trying to get to Michigan because I've told several people that I would come through. I hear your hash is just bar none. So I'm just really trying to experience both the United States and just all of abroad. Really, everywhere there's a bit of a hash culture. I think that again, I think Frenchie top to bottom to for introducing me to hash because whew, some of the experiences I've had and some of the places that I've been have been just so incredible, and I know it's only going to get better because I'm determined to get to the Himalayas to make some hash. Watch 2-3 years max.
I hope so. I hope you do. I hope you do.
You come
So
out with us.
when did you acquire your love for hash? When did it go from smoking in that piece to hash? I mean, how do you
Oh,
take
like
that turn?
oh,
I
I
mean,
can tell you how that situation total fortuitous moment. Okay, so when I decided that I was going to move to California, I checked out and I found out when a cup was coming up, which was the 2014 High Times Cup in Santa Rosa. So I came out here to look for an apartment, to get my license, to get my medical card, and to go to the cup. I did all of those things and I went to the cup. And so it's 2014, so I'm dabbing. Everybody is dabbing. I'm dabbing BHO. I'm dabbing everywhere. Everywhere is just like dabs, dabs. It's so great, right? And then I come across this booth that there are a million people in front of this booth. So in my mind, that means they have to be like the best dabs. I mean, the crumble is going to be the golden yellow. It's going to be just like so extreme, right? And I get to the front of the crowd. I kind of muscle my way to the front. And then I'm like super disappointed because instead of the beautiful golden dabs I'm expecting, there were just lumps of chocolate. Just lumps of chocolate all over the table. And I don't like chocolate. Chocolate is not a thing that you can entice me with at all. And I'm just like, fuck this. And I turn around and I'm bitching about like they don't even have any dabs. This is just chocolate. And a little man goes, "This is not chocolate, this is hashish." I said, well, can you dab it? And he said, but of course. So then I dabbed in his 3-hole bowl, and it was a nice dab. You know, I went took a picture with the little French guy. Went about my business. A month later, so then I went back to Miami, packed all our stuff. My husband and I and our 5 cats moved to California, and then I couldn't find a position. I was trying to get an entry level position within the cannabis industry because although I had come over here to grow and such, I wanted to like be able to interact within the cannabis industry, and I figured the best way is through the patients and as a bud tender. Now, the truth of the matter is in South Beach, Florida, my husband and I had a really nice massage company. I mean, we had all kinds of A-list clients or whatever. So I recognized that the HR person probably was just like, she's never going to stay. So that's what happened. No one would give me any opportunities to like come in as a bud tender. Like I was just like, I'm just trying to be a bud tender. Nothing against bud tenders, but you know what I'm saying? I had gone through master's program. I was just trying to be a bud tender. I wanted to like learn what is there to be like within the industry, and no one was trying to help me. And I felt really kind of turned off by that. And I saw another cup, which was the HempCon. And when I got there, I saw a guy wearing a shirt that was the same graphics as that French guy. And I was like, that French guy, is he here? He's like, oh, he's over there. And I don't know if you've ever seen any video of Frenchie in action when he's talking about resin, but this man is on his tippy toes. He's just like, and he was giving the business to somebody, right, about resin. I mean, you do not understand it. And I'm just like, oh, this dude is extra. I love it. And I asked him for coffee after he stopped yelling at that person. I asked him for coffee. And a couple days later, we got to had some coffee, and we exchanged about our past. And both of us were web designers in the 90s and early 2000s. And both of us went on to do some other design. I went to do landscape design, and he went to do purse design in Japan. So we liked our vibe. We liked our vibe. And he asked me if I would write for Weed World magazine about hashish. And I was just like, yeah. Mind you, I don't know anything about hash. Like, zero. Before meeting Frenchie, I had like this amount of hash at any given time. Like, my husband would sometimes he'd come home, he'd be like, "This is hash. You gotta really take care of it." So I didn't know anything about hash, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll write about hash," knowing I was totally out of my depth. And I called my therapist like that night, and I was like, I like just took this position writing about hash for Weed World magazine, which I had been reading for over 10 years. So I was like, now I write for Weed World magazine, but I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. And he's like, well, smoke more hash. I was like, oh, my therapist told me to smoke more hash. So I thought that that was going to be the whole thing. But then this man says to me, "Oh, well, in order to write about hash, because it's not like he just wanted me to write anything about hash. I wasn't going to be doing hash reviews or anything like that. I was going to be helping to craft a new vocabulary about hash, right?" And so this is in 2014. He's like, "Oh, if you're going to write about hash with any authority, you need to learn how to make hash." Oh, I don't want to make any freaking hash. It's not what I came here to do. I came here to do media. I came here to grow weed. But fuck, fine, whatever. This man, whatever. And so I made hash the first time September 10th of 2014. That process had me like, oh, I can definitely do this. And a week later, September 17th of 2014, I pressed hash for the first time, and I knew that was it. This is what I do. I press hash, I do Frenchy tech, and this is it. And so since then, that's literally been it. I got into hash because I wanted the opportunity to be doing media and to write for this magazine. And what was great about this experience was, so Frenchie gave me the good 80% of my hash knowledge, and I have it at 80% and not at 100%, because through the years, what I did every 2 months was write about other hash makers. Like, I've written about at least 30 hash makers. And I would go and they'd give me 2 grams of hash, and I would talk to them, like do an interview and kind of get a good feeling of what they went through in making that hash, where it was sourced and whatever. And then I would go on an adventure. I've been on all kinds of adventures, beach adventures, fancy places, underground places. I'd go on an adventure with the hash, and then I write a story about that. So it's not like I was reviewing the hash, but rather the experience of how the hash was made and how it made me as a hash maker also feel. The benefit I got from that was that every single hash maker taught me something about their hash making process. So Frenchie gave me like the definite solid foundation. But I've interviewed Tony Vazura, Bubble Man, Solventless Mine. I learned dry sift from Flora, who's Cuban hash queen. So along the way, I've had like a million teachers, including people who ask me questions. Because every time someone asks me a question in a different way, and I have to think about it, I'm like, why do I make that? Why do I take that as a given? Or where is this person coming from? So that has been phenomenal for me. So my particular, I can say that my learning never ever ever stops, because every single time I have one of these kind of interactions with somebody, or I'm explaining something about trichomes or something like that, then I'm like, bing, I've learned something new. So that's how I got into the whole hash thing. So I went from being say no to drugs to being all about hash, 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 just because I came here to California. I met this little French man who put me on. And after I had hash for the first time, that was it. I was on.
I can relate. I can relate. I love me some hash as well. I love some hash. Everybody that watches the
Ooh.
show knows I love some hash. I've had the pleasure of meeting Fredchie firsthand. He's very great guy, man. Very gracious with his time. He spent
Mm-hmm.
more time with me than I ever thought he would on a first meet like that. I mean, you know, I was very honored, but I do love the hash. I do love the hash. So I love your appreciation of it as well. I So it's a great buzz.
I
I
mean, for
enjoy
sure.
medicating with the hash, and I'm very guilty of saying, I appreciate the long term storage. I appreciate the people talk about the long term storage. It gets better, and with the long term cure. But that's not me. I when soon as I make it, I smoke it until it is gone. Until it is gone. And
I mean,
I appreciate the Frenchy tech. I've got some bubble right here. I'm almost, with you being a critic and everything, I'm almost ashamed to show
no,
everyone. This
don't
is
be.
gonna
Okay,
kind of
my
float
eyes are like
around a
dry
little
as
bit.
sin. Okay, so you pressed it.
A
What
little,
was
a
the?
little greasy here.
Yeah, that looks nice. How does it do with the bubble test? With the fire test? Oh, I can see that. That's a
This is
nice.
probably a 90.
Okay, that's 90 micron. Did you put the fire on it? By the way, I've noticed that a couple people were asking me to move a little more slowly. I understand that. Just keep in mind, I'm from New York and we talk like this. That's number 1. Number 2, I do not smoke when I do interviews because I'll be likely to do some other random thing and not be as clear for the interview, but I will speak more slowly, but do know I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn in the '80s. We talk like this all the time, all the time. So, but with the fire test, if you put the fire on
Duchess,
it, how's the bubble?
Duchess, I have not done the fire
Oh,
test
do the
to it.
fire test
I
on it.
can do that right here with you.
Yeah, if you do the fire test, that will tell
Scared.
you
I'm
the
scared.
quality of it.
I've got the Duchess here. I'm sure it's pretty good. Let's see.
No, no, no. Let's see about the fire. Okay,
Oh, not very good.
okay, no
She
problem. What
bubbled
what
a
did you
little
watch?
bit, but not great.
Okay, so what were you watching? I mean, watching. What were you watching? Sorry. And mind you, I am still a little bit high in some because my eyes are dry. And I was smoking a I don't know if you know about my 7 gram joints, but I was smoking an earlier, and now my eyes are dry. Okay, so I see that. It looks nice and greasy, but what did you watch? Oh yeah, that is doing a nice little
It's
melt there,
always hard to
darling.
get that.
No, that is doing a nice little melt. Don't hate. Don't hate. Participate in your own thing.
And that was from some dry sift. I don't like to run dry sift myself, but
Why not?
it is what it is. Sometimes you have to rush through the
I mean,
process. And
did
but
you static tech it?
I prefer a wet trim when I make my hash.
Wait, you prefer wet trim when? Oh my god, my eyes are so dry. You said,
When I make my bubble hash, I prefer it to be a fresh froze.
oh, fresh frozen. That's totally fine. Okay. Um, the dry sift was it dry enough? Was your relative humidity enough so that when you did the static tech that the trichome separated from your particulate well enough? Because if it's not dry enough and it's too moist, after you've done as much cleaning as you can possibly do, you will find that the heads and the plant particulate will stick to each other way too much. That's why you need it to be as dry and as cold as possible.
No, no, no. Well, it was dry material that I washed. I usually don't sift unless it washes well. It doesn't wash well
Hmm.
unless it's small heads. Sativas, a lot of sativas don't wash well, in my opinion. But no, it was just dry material that I let soak and then for about 20 minutes and then washed through the machine.
Hmm.
But uh, just I had a bunch at the time and just had to run more material than I was guilty of letting it back up. I usually would let it freeze, but things been going kind of wonky around here. Just kind of doing
That
what I'm
happens
doing.
sometimes. That happens. I mean,
You
don't.
know,
That happens sometimes, darling. That happens sometimes. So, did you come up with a product that you were satisfied with?
oh, yeah, of course, of course,
Then you
yeah,
did great.
much
You know
much.
what I mean?
I'm
Medicine for the people.
Yeah, actually, out of this run, it was my first time out of any run that I've pulled a melty 160. I've never pulled anything that I thought was keepable. I usually figure my 160 for edibles if I'm going to make some edibles, but I don't usually smoke it. But and this time I pulled some 160 that was completely fire, and it pulled me out of left field. I was like, wow, wow, I couldn't believe it.
I love that. I've only had one time where 160 just blew my mind. That was a platinum OG, outdoor grown, big juicy heads, and the melt was incredible. It wasn't 6 star, but it was at least 5 star, and it was definitely the 160 bag. It was 160. I didn't run a 190, so it was 160 to 219. Nice, nice. Oh look, it's 2 minutes to 420 in UK. You know what? How about this? I'll take a dab. Maybe one dab. It's not gonna be terrible. Um, I just finished judging Ariel Cup, so I
I
still have.
highly encourage smoking on the show.
I'll take a dab. Give me 1 second. Let me take a. How about this? I might even take some CBD first, so I don't feel a kind of way. Um, if in terms of getting too high. So let me just get my little CBD jar. Of course, now's the time that I can't find the CBD.
Actually, as
Oh,
far as like with episodes and wash and hash goes, we did a 12-hour wash live, live,
with whom?
Duchess. Uh,
You were the person washing, or you
me,
did it with somebody?
two different. We did two different people, two different methods of washing, and then we had our D420K
Mm-hmm.
on, and Smokey the Bear 2.0, a Michigan extract artist, on kind of keeping the chat going and answer questions,
Mm-hmm.
while myself and Boone's Farm up in Canada washed live on air. He was
That's
running
good.
dry material, and I was running wet material, and we were just kind of explaining what we were doing and the different methods that we were doing, and kind of showing the process. It was a
That's good.
fun night.
Education, baby. Let us teach each other. Let us teach each other. All right. Let me make sure I can get to my dab rig. Get these dabs out first. My dab rig. I did just take quite a quantity of CBD, so that should be good for me. Quite a quantity. Let's see if I have any dabs in here. I do not. Okay.
So, do you jab the CBD?
Oh no, this was a tincture. This is a tincture from Prana. Prana has a different name now. This is Tony Vazura's brand, Prana, which is under Advesa, which is under Blue River Terpene. So this is just straight high quality CBD. Now, if I had some CBD to dab, I would definitely be down to dab some CBD. But I actually don't have, not that I don't have access, it's just that I don't buy things in the store. So if I haven't washed it or my friends haven't washed it, it's likely I'm not getting it right then. Though I am going to be growing some CBD strains, not this next cycle. My next cycle is going to be like all about tropical things, tropical flavors. But the cycle after that. So I figure by the summer that I will be doing some CBD. Fire. Where is this? Okay, dab rig. Just need. I'm sorry, you're coming around with me with all the things, but we're on this for a little bit of a time, right? You said no stress, right?
No stress at all.
Okay.
Please, no stress. Have fun with this. This should be all fun, man.
No
All
problem.
fun.
Let me just get some dabs. Oh gosh. Emerald Cup had 84 entries this year for solventless. So even though I've gone through quite a few of them, still so many solventless dabs to enjoy. Let me get some
I,
Q-tips.
I'm gonna. I've never really, out of all these episodes, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people said, "Yeah, I'll hook you up with this. I'll hook you up with that." But I've had Tim Blake on the show, and
Uh
he
huh.
said that it open invitation to come out and judge next year to the fucking
Oh, that's nice.
Emerald Cup, and and out of all the things, I believe I will contact him on that one.
Okay.
I may call that one in.
Emerald Cup. I mean, judging
Because
was great. I have judged a lot of cups. A lot. Let me make sure do I have. Oh, here's the tabs. Okay, I've judged a lot of cups all over the place. But Emerald Cup's judging this time around has been truly exceptional. We judged over the course of 4 weeks, so we weren't rushed to be like, only dab something once or twice. We definitely had the opportunity to keep coming back. And then we had a team of, I think there were 9 of us. So because we met at a certain time every single week and we could talk about, oh, what did you think about 2? What did you think about 47? Oh, 34 was really fantastic. That back and forth allowed us to refine our palates and really top 10 that we are very, very happy with because we had really, really explored, really, really explored. With the exception of
Tim
one,
Blake was another.
I'm gonna say with the exception of
He
one,
was another great.
he was a great, no, I know. Zoom.
Please, you.
I was just saying there was only one option that was like just completely mediocre. Just wondering what they brought to the table. But besides that, all the options were just like so good. Let me show you what some of the color looks like. And color obviously is not what we're going based on. We're not judging only based on color. In fact, we judged based on 10 different things. All right, for example, this is definitely one of my favorites. Although this rosin did white out a bit. So, this is some rosin, which, oh, this rosin, oh my, oh, this rosin is obviously a Tropicana cookies. Those are very, very, very nice Tropicana cookies. There were a lot of GMOs. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of GMOs. Here's some water hash. Let's see. What's this? Oh, yeah, this is 12 that actually stayed. This is some hash. There. This is some hash that this hash did retain its granular texture. It melted pretty nicely. I think we rated it around 5 star. There was one truly, truly 6 star option in the water hash. It definitely got lots of love because of that. But there's just so many options. Oh, this one was a good one too. This is another water hash, straight grease. Grease. Oh, look, let me see what some people were saying right there. Oh, look, Tony gifted me all 3 Prana bottles in Denver. Now I got that owe me tax. Well, I mean, I got gifted quite a few Prana bottles also. I'm sorry, I was just um, reading some of the chat. No, there's no color remediation in solventless. So that's whatever is being said about that. That's not happening. Color CRC happens in solvent only. So I'm only judging solventless. I only judge solventless. So I'm a solventless person, and there's no CRC concept in that. Oh yeah, they are fire, darling. They are fire. They're definitely quite fire. Like I said, there was only one option that was, I mean, everybody was like, this is super disgusting. What were they thinking? The personal options were also pretty nice too. There were so there was options of water hash, rosin, and personal. Only one person came with or had the kind of moxie to come with water hash while everyone else came with rosin. It was good rosin and it was good water hash, but we appreciated that. We appreciate, but there were a lot of really good options. So I'm going to dab. I might dab Oh, that smells nice. Which one is this? Oh yeah, 15. It's a little dry. Yeah. I'm gonna dab one of the top threes. How about that? I'm gonna dab one of the top threes because that'll put me in such a positive mood. This is actually number one. This is all that's left of the winner of Emerald Cup. This is all that's left. I think I'm gonna dab it right now. Are you smoking, darling? Are you gonna dab with me?
I am not dabbing currently, but I am smoking along with you.
I do
I
see that.
am
I did
smoking
that.
on some sangria, but I have a bad luck that I broke my second brig the other night on the show, and I just
I'm
gotta get it
sorry.
on. Like, I've had one, I just don't have it close.
That's the thing
It
about glass,
happens. It
man.
happens.
That's the thing about glass. Oh, Sergeant Pepper says, what do I think that freeze dryers have done to the solventless game? Well, one of the things that's been the issue for years is people putting out wet hash. You know, wet hash is like the biggest issue. So when freeze dryers came on the scene, they've actually been on the scene for a lot longer than people think. I used my first freeze dryer. I had my first freeze dryer experience in April of 2015 because Frenchie had the opportunity to get into the freeze dryer really early. And so I've been appreciating the freeze dryer and all its intricacies. Um, but people can still do freeze drying wrong. You know, people can definitely over dry, under dry. Oh God, everyone's trying to, in effort to save their terps, they're trying to do these super relatively quick dries. They're relatively quick because it's not like 1 second, but it's like as little time as possible. They think they can put on and make that happen. But you know what happens? For someone like me, you see how you said that you smoke, that if you get hash, you smoke it. Nah, I'm not like that. I have so much hash that I definitely have the privilege that I can let things sit and I can watch and see if people cake out. And a lot of people that you think are like big names cake out something crazy, partially because they are not drying their material enough. So it looks fantastic, but as time goes on, it cakes out. And that is, I'll still smoke it. I know that's not a bad thing, but in terms of technique, I'm definitely looking at that. I'm definitely looking at that. Okay, so let's take this tab. Let's take this tab. Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to mute because this is like loud as sin. I'm sorry. Please, by all means, say something while I like mute this.
So I guess I'll pick up where I left off there about Mr. Tim Blake there, since we were talking about the Emerald Cup. That was another great interview. That gentleman has some great stories, and I appreciate his experience with the mushrooms and psychedelics and spirituality. I think that cannabis and the mushrooms directly correlate with spirituality and kind of should be used one and the same. You know, I'm kind of headed down to the Buddhism kind of road myself as far as that kind of thing goes. And yeah, I definitely think that cannabis should be used during the meditation states for sure. Definitely can appreciate that.
I agree with that as well, hon. I mean, cannabis allows us to get into that good middle space, that space of like in a way mental homeostasis where we're neither up nor down, but in a right good in between space. I I appreciate that very much about cannabis. And I definitely, although I have taken years where I've taken a break from mushrooms, namely one time I went like 6 years where I really wasn't messing with mushrooms, mainly because I wasn't in a good headspace. I knew I not maybe I intuitively knew I wasn't in a good headspace, and so I took some time off. But I'm really glad that I have rounded that corner, gotten back into growing mushrooms. So that's uh that's good. I'm muting again because I'm about to hit this.
Mr. Boom Farms in chat, whom I referenced earlier tonight about that hash episode. We got tons of respect for Mr. Boom. Miss you, man. You need to pop back on the show. It's been a minute or two since you've been on the show. We need a Canadian update, my friend. We need a Canadian update. but he would like to know, in your opinion, can you still place in a cup without a freeze dryer, or is it pretty much standard today as far as a hash entry?
Let me take this second dab and then come back and tell you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It must be. And I'm also very curious why you're after you're done with that question. Uh, what actually stood out as far as the winners go? What made the what was the winning? What what were the factors in the winning
Ooh.
entry there?
Mm. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so this is what the situation is. The first three were so phenomenal that even though the judges had varying top fives, everyone had at least two of the top three in that top five. It was like so obvious for all of us, right? Okay, so to answer your first question, could you have a non-freeze dried option in the cup? That's yes. Okay, let me tell you why. So let's say you're Jendo. Let's go with that. Let's go with someone who's definitely won cups with her air dried. Jendo makes such perfectly sieved heads that have such a delightful golden color that I definitely believe that I'm looking at some of the other water hash things, that she could pull it off even now. Because, she won in 2014, and I believe that she could pull it off. Furthermore, if someone like Jen were, see, for example, this is a water hash that, I mean, the quality of the resin itself is just such that it melted into a nice oil like paste, which actually became very, very hard and kind of difficult to deal with, but very nice. If you have the right cultivar, that it could stand up to being able, the way we test, I'll tell you this, the way we test if the hash is good, if the stability is there, stability is definitely one of the options. And a lot of things were so terpy, but their stability was not there, and they lost a lot of points there. We take the hash. I kept my hash for the most part in the refrigerator, partially for pictures and partially because everybody else was stress testing. And they take your hash and they don't put it in the refrigerator. They put it on the counter and leave it there for days upon days upon days. So whereas some people's hash tastes delicious the first couple days, but their stability is not there, so therefore the terps disappeared after day 4, guess what? We definitely had beginning scores, middle scores, and ending scores. And some people just dropped out because their beginning scores were phenomenal and the ending scores were crappy. If you have your tech right, you have the right the right chemovar, not even just the right cultivar, but the right chemovar, then yes, you can do a nice process of air dry, which looks super beautiful. And know that if you're going to do that, choose a chemovar that is going to melt to oil at room temperature. That's definitely going to make you get further along. And then if you're going to make rosin after that, then definitely do a cold cure and some sort of batter tech so that the color will be lightened a little bit. Because whereas light is not right, I mean, I have whole videos that are all about that. The idea of just things being light doesn't necessarily make it be a right thing. That soft, creamy color of like custard or anything that's like that always has a visceral reaction with judges. Though I will say peach colors and things that have little pinks in them, that works out really well too. But at the end of the day, that would be the only amount of color remediation, just to again bring it back to that person that was wondering if it was color remediation, which is with the rosin, if you do that whip tech, then you're going to lighten the color considerably. So if you're going to air dry, I would definitely make sure technique is on point. And then if you're gonna make rosin, definitely do whip tech so that the color stays as light as possible.
So one of the questions earlier in chat that kind of blew by was
Ooh.
from Amadeus. Well, he was wanting to know what was one of your favorite washes. What has been one of your most memorable washes that you've and what
I
was
have
the
a
stuff?
couple of okay. If I had to right now, boom, Duchess, who's your favorite wash? I think it is Purple Tangy from OG Steve Bordelin. It was that Purple Tangy, back to that kind of color. The Purple Tangy made a kind of hash that was kind of a little bit like my hair. I mean, like maybe that's why my hair is this color. It was kind of a little bit about that. Purple Tangy was a particular pheno. So because it was tangy, it had terrible yield. Terrible yield. It was a pheno of tangy called purple tangy that OG Steve Borland had found, and the smell, the pungent smell, was ridiculous in the hash, in the rosin. It was like bam, 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 and the color was just such that like I think about that hash from time to time. Like I just think about that hash. So that's one thing that like I really really like. But one of the most memorable is when I went to Cookies in 2018 to teach Cookies how to make hash. So I went there in August of 2018 and I was teaching this guy, the CFO, Daniel, and we were washing the snowman. And the snowman, as you washed it, first of all, it was white like the name would say. And it was so pungent that it seemed like it wasn't cut early. But the 45 micron, which sometimes has that like grayish kind of tone to it, or even if it has a pinkish kind of tone, it's like a muted kind of color. It's not nearly as like enticing as the 73 or the 90 or even sometimes the 120. This 43 micron was as white as paper. It was just so bright white. And it was like a lot of it. And after we ran it through the freeze dryer and everything, it dabbed super nice and everything. So that sticks in my mind. Again, resin comes in a variety of colors. So appreciate all the resin that you can possibly get. All the resin. And then in terms of experience, one of the most fun experiences I've ever had with hash making was when I was at Primo Hash Labs in Oklahoma this past October, where I got to use the 65-gallon Bruteless system for the first time. I have not been a big hand wash person. I'm a person that'll kill it in all types of machines. But because I got bursitis in my shoulders back in 98, and through improper technique when I first ever tried to wash my hand, I really, really stayed away from hand washing. But in 2020, I went to Barcelona for Spanibus, and although Spanibus got canceled, I was there a week before, and I got to wash with a club called Aranua, and also my friends at La Calada, and that was by hand, and I got like more into the feeling of washing by hand. And then I got an opportunity a couple months later to wash with Wuxos Winery. Do you follow him? Or and also Girls in Green.
I
Wuxos.
neither. It sounds like I should
Oh,
be.
oh yeah, Wuxos Winery. I mean, his legal venture is fully melted. There's a reason why they call it fully melted. And Girls in Green is a hash maker named Elise from Brazil. Huge account. She's super into harm reduction. She started off making some hash in Brazil with like 1 gallon bags. Now she's in Humboldt. Well, she was in Humboldt last year. Now she's back in Sonoma, but they're growing single source, 6 star. Every time I see them, they don't bother about giving me any rosin. It's all about that 6 star. Wuxos Winery, definitely, and Girls in Green 710. In any case, they're hand washers, and so I got a chance to wash with them, and that made me feel more comfortable. Again, I'm all about this idea that every new interaction that you have with someone's opportunity to learn from them, teach them something. And although Elise learned a lot about hash making from me. I learned a lot about the ergonomics of like holding the paddle and really moving with the hash making to make something that is comfortable for me. Who's I'm small. I'm 5'2" so I'm small, you know, and and I already had problematic shoulders. So when I went to Oklahoma and I knew I was going to be washing on this system, and I was super intimidated by it because I was like, the 65-gallon system, it's like so huge. It turns out that what I learned from her, from Alicia earlier in the year in moving my body, made that process so wonderful, such that if I were going to wash by hand right now, I definitely only want to wash in a wide mouth system as opposed to a deep system and that action like that.
I definitely can appreciate the wide mouth system. I've tried quite a few different wash methods myself. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely appreciate the hand wash, but the only problem I have with the hand wash is so I guess the same problem I've had with machine wash is sometimes you just don't know, and I guess that's a good question for you, is when that strain unlocks. You know,
Oh,
you can be a wash or two into it and be like, well, this one just isn't washing well, and then you kind of start to clean the machine out, or you go one more run, and then you went, shit,
oh, I believe you got to push it to
she
the
just
limit, honey.
gave,
No,
she
you got to
just
push it.
gave.
You got to push it to the limit because, push it to push a be willing to lose a half if you spell it, you know, in a small machine. You're just doing it for the first time. See, I got that dab and now my eyes don't open. um you push it to the limit. Be willing to lose that half a pound by like doing your one, your two, your three, your four. Push it till it gets green and see where the drop off is. See where the drop off in in your yield. And then one of the things I think sometimes people don't realize is that you can tell based on what your yield is if you are fucking up your process in the way. Like, so sometimes people are like, oh, I noticed, let's say I got 10 grams on run one, and then I got 15 grams on run two, and then I got like 3 grams on run three, but then I got 20 grams on run four. You fucked up run three. Run three was not cold enough. The agitation wasn't ideal because it's not going to make that dip like that. That's not how that works. Rather, there's going to be a steady decline, but it's not going to decline, super decline, and then somehow have a whole bunch of resin. So I personally feel that if you, for the real hash, I'm going to say real, for the person who's committed to some professional level of hash making, understand that there's going to be some level of waste in the beginning once you're trying to figure out what is the ideal strain. And while it can be fun to try a million things and like never really stick with anything, I find that for a commercial situation or again a professional situation, if you want to make sure that the patients are getting medicine consistently, there have to be 3 or 4 things that you know wash ridiculously well, and make sure that you as the grower or your grower is constantly growing that, so you have that as the stable and then can mess around with some other things on some other times.
We're always evolving. We kind of talked about that in the beginning. We're always learning. If we're doing
Mm-hmm.
things right, we're always learning. So,
Exactly.
what were some of the things when you were going through your process that were kind of aha moments to where you were like, "This for me is a game changer," in quality? Is there
Uh,
anything that kind of stands out as one of those moments?
a game change. Oh, well, I will tell you this. Okay, so I had a situation where I almost ended my career before I started it, which was so in 2015 Emerald Cup. I entered Emerald Cup with 2 entries, right? And so Emerald Cup is out over a Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday was wonderful, met all kinds of people. You're smiling, you're dabbing, you're chilling, whatever the hell you're doing, right? Went back to the hotel, got a good night's sleep. However, I woke up the next morning and I had all these messages about, oh, Duchess, I heard you didn't pass. I heard you didn't pass microbial. Why are you? Is your hash dirty, Duchess? I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And what had happened is the results for testing had been made public, and this other hash maker, who I'm not gonna name, um, had collected everyone who didn't pass, all their names, and made this post that said, these big name hash makers didn't pass the microbial portion of Emerald Cup, right? And put my name in the middle. I hadn't been making hash less than a year solid, and he put my name in the middle like I was some big name hash maker. I was like, so when I saw the post, I was like, oh my god, what's going on? So I looked, and I found out that, like, on one of my, not both, but one of them, my E. coli was like out the beyond out the roof in my entry. It was just terrible. So I recorded, and I basically came to my fans and followers and was like, look, obviously something has gone wrong in this whole process, and I take full blame for that, and I'm going to revisit what I've been doing, because obviously I have fucked up in some way, right? But I definitely wanted to just like die. Just if I could just suddenly disappear as Duchess, the hash maker, just right then, because I'm just getting so many people just, what happened? Like, you got the people who are like, haha, you fucked up. You got the people who are just like, it's a conspiracy. I'm just like, I don't think it's a fucking conspiracy. So it turned out that the plant that I had grown, well grown, organic, well grown is interesting, but the manure that they were using was hot. And so, like, the flour also had the same issue, right? And that moment, I gotta tell you, honey, that moment, I decided I was gonna do anything important. I was only gonna be single source. So that was in 2015. And although I had grown a little bit on the roof in 2015, 2016, I came fucking super hard. 59 plants on my roof, like, fucking killed that shit. Because if I was gonna be making hash that made any fucking difference, I was going to grow it, because I was going to be putting anything that's going to be making my shit not pass. Because I really wanted to get into this one dispensary called BPG. It is actually the longest running, continuously open dispensary in all of the United States. It's in Berkeley. And whereas other dispensaries allowed you to have certain amounts, I mean, there were low limits on any kind of problem, Berkeley Patient Group required that you have nothing, zero. Like, you can't, there can be nothing wrong with your hash. And I really wanted to have my hash sold at BPG. So I grew a whole bunch of weed, and I made a whole bunch of hash. And the next year I did the same fucking thing. And you know what? Had the market real nice with my hash that I grew, and I could feel comfortable with that. So single source, if you have the option of going single source, that totally changed my outlook, both on the fact that just because something smells good as a grower, if you're going to be making hash with that shit, just because something smells good or smokes good is not great for hash. So, like, that second year in 2017, I grew a whole bunch of Spanish genetics, because I'm all big about having different types of genetics, not just hype shit. I grew a whole bunch of Spanish genetics, but I had not really known the cultivars, and I didn't know what my trichomes were going to end up looking like. So I would say only like 20% of the garden washed super well. I mean, washed super well. The rest of it, it was like, after I did the test wash, we're going to have to, like, just smoke this shit, because the yield is terrible. And, you're asking, when do you know that it's not you? When do you know where the drop off is? I was doing, for most of these cultivars, I was doing dried, and I can tell fresh frozen is a little bit different, but with dried, and you just get used to knowing what your yield should be on that, I could tell when this was just going to wash just poorly and not to waste another 3/4 of a pound on it, or when I just needed to step up my game. Every day I'm learning about, sometimes you just need to step up your game.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. To be honest with you, every so often you got to put yourself in check. And I did that recently with myself with the show, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You pushing
Trying
it to
to
the
put
limit?
myself in check. Yeah, I
Okay.
decided I was going to push it to the limit. I
I like
was gonna
that.
be all in on this adventure for sure. But
Well, I'm
so I have
clear.
to ask this.
Uh huh.
I have to ask this, and I
That is a
know
tough
this will
one.
be a good question for everybody in chat because this is the question as of lately. So, as a grower, as
Mm-hmm.
a hash maker, as a hash judge,
That is a tough one.
can
Mm-hmm.
you tell a difference in quality in the hash from an organics grown plant
Oh,
versus a cocoa grown plant, or uh, artificial nutrients
I'm
plant?
gonna tell
Do
it
you
to you.
think the
Okay.
quality, the heads are better? Because I asked this question because I just did. I'm doing a side by side back here,
Mm-hmm.
earth boxes versus cocoa and salts. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, and
Mm-hmm.
this is just my opinion. Hopefully, this doesn't affect your answer, but I think there I have noticed a larger trichome head on the organic side. And I
Okay.
think that is without, I think there's more oils there. I think there will be more oils, terpenes trapped in them heads, but that's to be judged. But as I'm somebody in your position. What are your thoughts? Have you
Yeah, I have
seen,
an answer, but
salts?
it's not about size, but rather your terpene content is going to be different. Organically grown, well grown, where you're feeding your soil and you're feeding your soil biome rather than feeding your plants, which is what happens when you're doing salts. And mind you, although I'm an organic grower now, I came to California with tubs and tubs and tubs of salts. I think I still have a huge thing of calcium right now. You know what I mean? So I'm coming from a standpoint as someone who definitely was growing with salts, but after coming here and going to farms and really tasting superb organically grown flour, what your inputs are going to determine your output. So if you're giving me salt laden flour that is coming in at 1.5 on the terpenes, and you have Mean Gene from Mendocino's flour coming in at 6% on the terpenes, I'm going to tell you that 6% terpenes is going to be much better hash. Having nothing to do with the size of the head or whatever, it's going to just be much better hash, because hash is primarily about that experience. And if you want the best experience, you got to taste the best. Oh, I was
I
gonna do another
definitely
answer.
want to taste the best. So, and with that in mind as well, do you think, as I've made a lot of hash, and as I make that hash, obviously, as I'm dumping that water out, you can tell
Mm-hmm.
we're losing terpenes in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of terpenes. There's lots of good stuff left in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, in your opinion, I have a process in my head, but do you think there's ever a way that we'll be able to recapture the terps out of that water and then kind of be able to reintroduce them back into our bubble at some
Well,
point, maybe
I
through
mean,
back in with the sieving process?
you can try
You
some
know,
kind of steam distillation type thing. A lot of people have attempted to do something with terp water. I'll be honest, I just drink it as tea. It tastes, it's flavorful. It's delicious. For quite a while, when I was still making hash here at home before I started working in Tony's lab, like consistently, I had my huge plants on the roof. Definitely, I was carting buckets and buckets of water up to the plants under the ideas that like they have to be appreciating this water. I gotta tell you, I grew some big plants, so they were appreciating something. So something can be done with that for sure, but we are definitely losing terpenes at that place, because a lot of people don't realize that when the head breaks off from the stalk, although there is a sealed, it's very much like an orange. When you have ripped off that part is really that abscission point where it's ripped off is porous. So after a while, you're going to have leakage of terpenes. Sometimes you have leakage of anthocyanins, and that's how you get water that has all these colors in it that like doesn't translate to the hash itself. But the fact that these anthocyanins have been exposed, that's how you get that. So while I haven't done any recapturing of terp water, there are people who are definitely trying to do something with that, and I'm sure you can do something with some type of steam distillation. I know you can do it.
You know, in my opinion on it, I don't think it's through steam. In my
Oh, it
opinion, I
might not
think
be through
it's going to
steam.
be through. I think it's going to be through the freeze drying, the cold method. You
Oh,
know,
the
just
cold
kind of
trapping
chilling it off.
situation. Okay.
I think that what you'll be able to do is slowly evaporate off that water, and what will be left there will be like a terpene powder that at one point you might be able to either through like a the mat tech that they're doing now, where they're heating it up, slowly, maybe dumping it in and turning it back in and making it maybe a full medicine at that point. Uh,
I wonder how
I
that
think is
is.
completely possible. But as far as the hash water, I do feed that stuff to my plants. My plants love it. And I've actually talked to a ton of organics guy that said, "Yeah, you've been on the right path all this long. It's
Yeah, that's
exactly
terp
what they
water.
love.
That's terp water.
Yeah, yeah, they love it. They
That's terp
love
water.
that
That's
stuff.
terp water.
So yeah, we're right on the same page as a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen the same guy too, and nothing against anybody in the chat, but I was saying, don't drink your hash water; it'll make you sick. And I
No, it's
gotta
not.
say that's
Why would it make you sick?
maybe the way you handle your plants. If
But
there's
why would it
nothing on
make
your
you
plants,
sick?
it
I mean,
should
I'm
be.
not spraying my plants. I don't have any pesticides in my plants. I eat, mind you, I eat those plants. I eat those plants. So if I eat those plants, there's no way water and ice on those plants is gonna hurt me. I like literally eat those things in salads and smoothies. See, look, Twisted
Makes
Roof
a good
knows that hash water holds all the good stuff for the soil.
makes a good Kool-Aid. A little
I
bit of
like it. I'm
honey in
telling
that
you.
water with some flavor. Bring it to boil. Let it cool. Delicious.
I put ginger in some. In fact, I remember when I watched the Holy Headband. Oh man, that was like some really, really good water. Interestingly enough, Purple Tangy's water was disgusting. So as much as I love the Purple Tangy, that water was awful. I've tasted just about all the waters, because everything is not going to be. It's not going to smell and taste the same. But that Purple Tangy water was awful.
I asked you that question, but hopefully you don't mind me answering it as well.
Sure.
Is one about one of the things that kind of changed with the hash game
Oh.
as I was going was, man, for the longest time when I first started making hash, with the mindset of the coolness, you got to keep everything as cool as you can get, and it only made sense as I wash my wash and then tried to I knew that was ice cold water, you know what I mean, as cold as I could get it already out of the machine. So I always tried to reuse that water back in, reintroducing it back into the machine, thinking I was saving a step. And actually, when I stopped doing that, actually I noticed a higher quality in my hash.
Yep.
uh, it made the whole process so much cleaner, just cleaner, 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 cleaner. As I
Hmm.
went on, my job got easier and easier and easier. So that was one of the things that was a changing
Yeah.
point for me in
Not
my hash
reusing your
game.
water, especially if you're using a machine. Because the fact that particulate has already been freed and rescued out of the machine and away from your resin, there's no reason to like give it another opportunity to try to stick onto your resin again. That's one thing we have to realize, that resin is not only sticky but statically charged, and it's just like plant matter is just looking to attach itself to resin all the time. So we want to change that situation. We want to limit it. We want to keep it cool so that we can break those bonds as fast and as well as possible. I was thinking I was going to take this dab. Hold on. Let me take one more dab. Let me take one more dab.
So I'm a I'm a fellow student of Frenchie as well, and I have done the hot water bottle tag pressing. I've made some beautiful cannolis, at least
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, some nice, beautiful cannolis, and some beautiful temple balls. Oh, one thing I guess before I want to ask this question is, have you ever pressed you out a nice, beautiful uh hemp wrap, or excuse me, hash wrap for, I'm gonna call it a blunt because it's usually pretty large when I roll it. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually the last one's 10 12 grams of cannabis, and it's usually a 6 or 7 by 7 sheet I roll out. But
Right.
I do the Frenchie tech. I do the wine bottle technique, and then I'll keep it in the freezer, in the bag until I'm
Mm-hmm.
ready, because I know it's gonna be greasy, and then I'll pull it out after I've got my cannabis all ready, and then I'll pull it out, I'll rip it loose, and then I'll roll basically a fast cannoli, but with
Mm-hmm.
cannabis in there, and
Mm-hmm.
just smoke it as that being the paper, and it
Mm-hmm.
is one
Like
of the
pixie stick.
best. Have you ever done one?
Yeah, years ago. And then but I didn't put weed. I put hash. Actually, when I have an old picture of it, I put hash in another hash uh situation, and then lit it. And then Frenchie gave me a whole bunch of shit about it because his position was like, that only works. You can only make hash as the paper if there is plant particulates. So his thing is, since I was trying to get the absolute cleanest, then I shouldn't be trying to be making this hash paper, because if it was the best resin, once I put fire on it, that it would drip on my leg. So that was the end of that. He killed that whole idea. But I have been noticing like pixie sticks, and like you saying you're making them, where they're making these very nice looking hash joints, stuffing them with weed. As long as you keep them as a nice angle, that's nice. I mean, innovation and doing different things, that to me is what makes us especially unique. So I'm down with it.
So, what are your thoughts on? And again, not me, not me. I appreciate all them people that can do the long-term storage. But what are your thoughts on a cure? How much is it going to add to my temple ball if I, put it, have the patience to put it up for some time? How much flavor? How much is it going to change,
Okay, I'll tell
in
you
your
this.
opinion?
Look, I will tell you this. I made that hash September 17th of 2014. I did not crack into it until September 18th of 2019. 5 years and a day later, right? It was my first feature hash. It was obviously not the best thing I would have ever done in that 5 years. But what happened is that it did not have any of the brightest terpenes. What had happened is a mellowing, and I don't even remember what the flavor was. Excuse me. But there was such a nice buttercream mouth coating experience when I did smoke it in the chillum in September of 2019, that I look forward to any piece of hash that I've aged. Every hash does not do it. Every piece of hash does not age well. But when it does age well, that experience is so different, the way you feel it in your body. The first piece of aged hash I had was from Mean Gene of Mendocino. It was 7 years aged. It was HP 13 crossed with Maui Wowie. And Frenchie told me about this big, I felt like I was listening to a legend. He was telling me about this big block of hash that me and Gene had, and that it was just like so good. And he basically, Frenchie, every time me and Gene gave him some, Frenchie would only smoke that and not any of his hash, because that was just so phenomenal, right? So I'm like, Frenchie is prone to all kinds of flowery language and shit. And then I had the hash and wrote an amazing story about it, because it was such a beautiful, mellow, like someone was brushing a slight caress on every part of your body, just like. And I've noticed that about aged hash, it just affects you differently, because the terpenes that are available, and therefore the modulation that's available in that piece of material is different. The oldest piece of hash I've ever smoked was in 2019. I smoked this 20-year-old Afghani. And so people are like, oh, if you age something too long, obviously it's gonna be all CBN, so you'll just be knocked out. Nah, this 20-year-old Afghani, I was in Barcelona smoking with this woman, Maria, crazy Dutch lady. I love her. And she was just like, "Oh, Duchess, I have it for you." And she brought out this black, I mean, it was black as black can be. Super hard. It was like shards of glass. And we had to break off pieces of it. When we took those, we smoked joint and chillum. When I can tell you that I was like the whole time for like 3 hours. It was so spacey. I mean, not spacey, so speedy, so on point. It kind of felt like doing a microdose times like a million without any of the associated body feelings, no nausea. I was just like so hyper wired. And that's when my mind changed in terms of this idea that all age hash is going to give you at some point that mellowing effect, because that 20-year-old Afghani, that was amazing. But in terms of things that I don't press, but I still have, I'm a keeper of hash. I have hash that's like 4 or 5 years old that has all the terps. It just stayed in the freezer. And once you have that storage down, you can keep it a little longer. And I'm saying to you, if you just take out 10% of whatever you make and just store that away in airtight glass and don't touch it, you'll appreciate it, because then you'll feel like, for me right now, I don't even have 10 grams of aged hash. And so if I start right now, I still have years before I freaking have accumulated it all. But what happens, I just smoked a whole bunch of it. After I had that first piece of aged hash of mine in 19, I just kind of like went through it. To be real honest, I just kind of went through it. It's so good. It feels so nice. You know the hash when it hits you right here and over your head and over here and back here. You know that, right?
I do, and I have kind of coined that as that hit is it just blinked my third eye. It That hit was so good it squinted my third eye. Is what I like to say.
This zooms up like this. You feel it just coming across. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Exactly.
That's how I feel, y'all.
So, I hear you talk about pressing. Are you talking about pressing your hash into rosin? And on that subject myself, I find it to be heartbreaking, to be honest with you. As somebody makes a lot of hash, I've always been very satisfied with that type of hash,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, whatever it be, dry sift be dry sift. If it's water hash, I appreciate the water
Mm-hmm.
hash. If it's been pressed into a temple ball, I love it that way. But as far as rosin goes, I don't want my hash pressed into rosin. I
I mean,
believe
that's
I've
that's
extracted it
understandable.
far enough. I believe, it's when I think of rosin, I really I'm hoping that it's more of an attempt from, to squish flour to try to save more of the oils, the terpenes, and all
No.
that. No, no. On the other
Nah,
side of
flower
that,
rosin has terrible shelf life, so that's not what you're gonna have professionally. Okay, look, I made rosin also in 2015, and I made a lot of rosin in 16 and 17. But I like 6-star hash. This is what I'm looking for, the 6-star hash. So that's gonna hit me. That's gonna have the most overall profound effect on my body. However, I'm sitting here. I judged all. This rosin competition. This wasn't a rosin. It was solventless. It just had way more rosin than anything else. I judge a lot of rosin competitions. So even though I'm not sitting here wanting to turn my hash into rosin, I can appreciate it. But at the same time, I'm really about trying to find that perfect. I'm trying to find the 6-star or even 5-star, but I'm really trying to find the 6-star. And as Frenchie will talk about, the secondary, the metabolites of the production of cannabinoids can be found in the cell walls of the trichome. So I want whole intact heads. I have not, for all the hash that I have smoked, all the rosin I've smoked in the last almost 7 years, there's just no way that the any experience has been as good as a really good 6-star, especially of some kind of cultivar that I like. A lot of times people don't realize that something might be the best of the best of the best, but if your body does not correspond with those terpenes, it's not going to hit you. It's not going to be the experience that you're going to want. And so it's not like, oh, that's boof or that's not quality. That just doesn't match up with you. Like for me, I don't like sweet strains that are just sweet. I'm not really big on all these dessert things either. Cakes. These things are kind of boring for me. But I also really, really, really respond to rank, body odor, funk, rotten fruit. I mean, anything that smells super unpleasant like that, that really gets me going. Like, really gets me going. So, we all are different, right? We all are different.
I agree 100% about the terps affecting it. That calls out to me, and it always has. And I don't think, as far as, consumers go, I don't think they will ever. It's going to be a long time before consumers are able to actually go to a market, recreational store, medical
Mm.
dispensary, to be able to figure it out until basically anymore they're trying to put it down to numbers. And I don't
Which
think
is not the
the
way to go.
consumers, it's no, even if you put a pie chart out there and went, this one's lemon, this one's yeah, it sounds good, but it's your nose. It's always been my
Your
nose.
nose
That's
knows.
when that's the one. I don't even care what the numbers are. That is the
Your
one
nose
right there.
knows, darling. Your nose knows.
I just hope that at some point we can educate or be able to go back to some type of system where that can be the one of the factors, and it isn't just numbers on a page.
I mean,
I,
the highest THC. It's like, oh my gosh. Bubbleman made a comment a couple years ago when we were talking about these numbers of like wanting the highest THC, and it has stuck with me as like the best analogy. Like, okay, so well, not all of us, most of us love pizza. Pizza is something that we can enjoy. And we know that many of us love a lot of cheese on pizza. But if you had pizza that was 95% cheese, that shit wouldn't be good pizza. Because the whole thing is all out of balance. Pizza is not pizza unless it has the dough, unless it has the tomato sauce. So, with that same idea, when we're looking for flour that is so overbalanced on the THC, guess what? The terpenes suffer. That's what happens. You get these like 34% with like 2% terpenes. You're like, that's not it.
the chat is asking about your opinion about cheap bubble bags, and I
Okay, I'll
kind of
be real
wanted to hear
honest.
your opinion on that too.
I mean,
because
I'm not gonna
I've
lie. I
enjoyed the
had a
cheaper
set of
ones.
like Bubble Dude bags or something. Get the bags. Get the right bags. Get the right bags. Your bags are your tools. Get the right bags. Your seams and the reliability of your seams. Not authenticity. But the knowledge, the reliability of this is 90 micron, not, oh, in some places it's 89, in some places it's 94, or this doesn't have good integrity, so after a while it was 90 and now it's a 97. This is all kinds of things that happens with non-quality bags. I myself have definitely been like, oh my gosh, I don't have the money to drop like $300 on some bags. I'm just gonna get some bags on Amazon. As soon as I had money to get bags that were not from Amazon, sorry, get some, get good bags. If you're gonna be doing this on a professional level, get good bags. Get good bags. It's worth it. It is definitely worth it. The good quality, like the Bubble Dude bags, like the 160 over time. Like I still have my exact bags that I first started making hash with. Mind you, I have gotten other bags as well, but I still have those bags. And they have stood the test of time. They're the Frenchy line of the Bolt bags. And full mesh, and they have stood the test of time. I have had bubble do bags, some other type of bags that were like, I don't know, completely full meshed, even up to the rim part, and it's just like a shitty ass string in there to hold it together. Those bags get all hard and crinkly, and they do not allow your resin to flow properly. So get good bags. Oh, and wash your bags. Okay, everyone thinks they can wash their bags in ice and water. Don't wash your bags only in ice and water, especially if you're washing other people's stuff. If you're washing other people's stuff and it's like always a different set of people coming in, make sure that you take the time to dunk your bags in ISO before you do the whole cleaning with ice and water. ISO. Don't let it sit in ISO forever, but definitely dunk it in ISO because you really want to disinfect what you have put, your bags through. Dry ice in the
You
trim bin.
stole
I
that
don't do dry
question
ice. Oh, sorry.
right
What'd you
out of
say?
my
Though?
head,
Oh,
Duchess. That was honestly my next question. You took it right out of my mind
what was
about the
it?
care of the bags. The care of
Yes.
the bags,
Yes.
washing of the bags. That was my
Mm-hmm.
next question. Your
Yes.
process.
I mean, washing your bags. Okay, everyone knows. All hash makers know the hash making process's shittiest part is cleaning. Cleaning is the worst. After you got your beautiful blonde hash. You put it, whether you're gonna sieve it or you have it ready for the freeze dryer. It's all great. Who the fuck wants to do the whole process of the cleaning? But that's where hash makers are made. Unless you have it that someone else can do the washing. But I feel like you show your heart in whether you're going to do a thorough cleaning process. So people are quick to say, oh yeah, you just wash out your machine or alcohol a little bit. No, break down your machine. Your machine is nasty. I can't tell you how many companies, highfalutin companies, I've been to do their hash consulting, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have our guy Steve, and we have this machine." And when I open the machine, first off, if those two slats in the 20-gallon machine are still there, I know someone's not paying attention because you need to take those slats out to be able to clean behind there. And I've seen the most horrific, nasty fungus, bacteria things back there because people don't realize the necessity of cleaning all parts. We're dealing with organic matter. Plants, organic matter, water, that's going to grow things. So you have to clean it down. And then at the same time, have to clean down your bags. And your bags, what happens is that the resin gets caught in all the seams. So you've got to take the time to clean that, and no amount of just taking water and ice and shaking it. Nah. Allow ISO, at least ISO 91, to loosen the resin's hold on the bags, and then it's a process of constantly dipping in the ISO, dipping in the ice and water, and washing it. dip it in ISO. And one of the things that you notice is if you have different bowls of ISO, you will see the color changing. Sometimes you think that you have washed your bags all the way. You know what I'm saying? You're like, I dipped it. You're like, oh, let me try it again in a nice clean bowl of ISO. You know what happens? That water turns a little bit yellow, just a little bit yellow, and you're like, well, that means it wasn't clean. And that's our responsibility as hash makers, and that's our responsibility as people who are being entrusted with other people's health. If you're being entrusted with people's health, you have to clean your bags. You have to clean your entire environment. You have to be using sterile stuff. You have to wear your gloves. People just, oh, it's just a little bit of something. No one wants your little finger cells in there. No one wants your epithelials in there. That's nasty. We don't like that.
Man, I can't thank you enough for that. I mean, for real, for real. These are all points I say as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I laughed almost like a little kid when you mentioned the 45s and the 20-gallon machine. And I know Boom Farms in here in chat did as well, because we both bought machines around the similar time,
Mm-hmm.
and we both did the modifications. Why can't we
Mm-hmm.
just get a bubble machine that's box ready? By the way,
Completely. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why you have these stainless steel things. So of course the price point is going from 350 to 35,000. So it's a little bit of a jump, but stainless steel is where it's going. You know what I was envisioning, and my husband just walked in. And I'm wondering, hey, by the way, what if we go to one of those places where the kitchen places and use like one of those giant pots for making hash? Oh, see, look at that. You don't even have to have like the smallest bruteless is, I think, it's 20 gallons. What if you can get a pot that can hold 10 gallons of water? It's also stainless steel. And the spilling process will be a little bit easier than if you were using something bigger than 10. I'm thinking about that. It's come to mind. Just get some stirring action. I'm thinking about it.
so
Oh, and a little faucet in the bottom. Let's see, he's thinking. He's thinking about it.
maybe I could hopefully pass on another tip, hopefully, to the Duchess.
Yeah.
Uh, um, Another thing I found, I broke down a lot of these machines.
Mhm.
I've doctored up a few of them. And when I tore into the Bubble Magic machine, and I'm always disappointed about a lot of the design. One of them was the 45 booms. I actually, that night, that was one of the different things we did. Boom ripped his out that night before
Mhm.
show. Forget these things. And I noticed he had a nicer vortex than I did, by the way. It
Mhm.
just was a nicer whoosh. And I left mine in. But when it come down to cleaning, I realized there's no way. There's things, this thing, it's packed behind there. There's no way these
Mhm.
things can stay. But another
Mhm.
thing I did differently with this machine that I don't usually do is before I would always take the corrugated hose off and do the Frenchy Tech, a nice
Mhm.
smooth hose. But this time around, when I doctored this Bubble Magic machine up, I hardlined everything to a point. So instead of when another, if you've watched a lot of hash, I don't know if you use
Mhm.
bags or if you don't use bags,
In
but
the
when you
20
throw
gallon, I
that
do.
hash, I don't in mine. But when you throw that hose down, you always get that clog, especially in
Mhm.
at some point you're going to have to blow in that hose
Mhm.
and free things up. So with that in mind, I changed the design. I hard piped, and instead of coming out and doing a 90, which I knew was
Okay.
going to
Yeah.
slow
Uh huh.
things down, I come out and did a 45 and then a
Yep.
45 and then come out the machine, and then I did a T handle so I could actually shove something up in there and clean
Mhm.
that out. Because I pull that plate out and everything too. I'm a big advocate of busting that machine down. Take
Yes.
that top off. It's only two screws. You can wipe everything the top. I mean, they're easy to take apart and put back together.
Yep.
But actually, so I come out with a T and then a turn down straight
Mhm.
down into my bucket. And I love that hard pipe. But I didn't, right there where the 90 is, the shut off,
Mhm.
I didn't glue that. I made it so it would pop off, and I could dump, alcohol in there, clean it up, and then, like I said, I could, shove
Mine's
something
just
through that
pushing also.
45.
My although I'm talking about my for my 5 gallon machine, mine also is not glued in there, but rather, just my inner diameter is right for a good shove in there and it's held in place. And I can take that out and completely clean the whole holes because that, like you said, that 90-degree angle is where nastiness definitely grows.
Yeah, and the 20 gallon, I bought totally bypassed that pump and everything they had in
Hmm.
there. I looked in there and in the back of that machine, and I was like, this is just harboring grossness. All this
Yeah,
corrugated loops and whatnot. I'm like, this has got to go. I have to
terrible.
bypass all of that.
Terrible. Terrible. Terrible.
I don't,
Terrible.
I don't know why they even use that design myself.
Hmm. So.
But we went a half hour past the
Time that
mark
I
you
can say
told
I can
me.
handle. Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, I do want to keep you, keep the show all hype. And what happens is that I like literally just, unfortunately, run out of steam. I'm a person that needs to get like a re up of sleep. And since it is already 10:30, I don't know how you're gonna stay up, but 10:30 for me, and I've been up since 4:30. I'm definitely a little bit tired. I could use a little bit of sleep, but I like the way you formatted this very informally, and then being able to read what's going on in the chat. That's really nice. Unfortunately, we
Well,
haven't kept two people happy. Two people were like, "We don't like this. We don't like the weed."
that's just a staple. And anymore, I'm just glad they show up because the way I look at it, them thumbs down still counted. Their views are recorded,
Oh,
they
I mean,
still
you're not
watched.
gonna you're not gonna make
So,
everybody happy, and especially if you understand that having an audience through YouTube where every and anybody can see what you're doing. There's just to be honest, there are going to be a level of people who are not going to get what you're doing or what people are experiencing. Oh, one person decided to add to that for the three, and they're not going to get it. And it's fine to understand that it's not your job to capture everybody. Rather, it's important to be able to make that connection with at least one person, and then you've done what the best that you can possibly do. I mean, now that I have Instagram presence and whatever, I used to take every kind of thing personally, especially how people initially felt about Frenchy Tech, and when people were really at first just, oh, it has to be really, really light all the time. That's going to be the best thing when people were cutting plants down early for it to be light. I got used to people not understanding the tech that I happen to appreciate. And, I can give you that white, I can give you granular, I can kill it. I've put out freeze dry tutorials from the beginning. And at the same time, I realize that, not that I'm just too old, but I'm past the idea of thinking that I'm best served for everybody. That's just life.
no, you have been an amazing guest, and
Thank
you're
you.
right. People don't. That's why we talked about this a little
Life.
bit earlier about my resurgence, my refueling of this project, and that's one of the things I've told myself as of late. Not everybody sees your dream. You know what I mean? And you can't you just have to go with it. It's all right they don't understand it or they
Mm-hmm.
don't see it. As long as you're passionate about what you're doing and you can see the overall dream, chase it. That's where I'm at with this thing, and I'm
I
I'm
love it. We
chasing
need
it.
more of that in our lives. I really strongly feel that the depression and anxiety that has taken a hold, what it seems like, especially the later part of Gen X and all of the millennials and Gen Z, is this striving, and especially because of social media, is to strive to fit ourselves under these labels, and that struggle of who we really are and who we purport to be, that dissonance is terrible, and I think it manifests itself in continual am I good enough, am I right enough, am I cool enough, do the people like me, all that, or the nobody loves me, all those wild swings. And it's for me, through cannabis and through the use of psilocybin, that I decided to step outside of that game and just do what's right for me. And it's not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. Shit, the people who don't like ice cream. And ice cream's fantastic. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
So I'd like to, we talked about this a little bit. You're the second guest I've kind of ruined this portion of the show for. But, I'd like to formally give you that invitation, as far as the being able to come back and hang out in the
Right, yeah.
wormholes. The Zoom number is always the same. Like I said, it can be one night, it might be hash, it can be psychedelics. Some nights it's all of us on psychedelic mushrooms
Oh,
talking about,
really? You get down, darling. Well, honey, like for real, how about, I mean, honest, that if you give me a couple days and you send me a DM or email and let me know a idea of what could possibly be the conversation, I'm cool for jumping in on something new. Like, hey, spontaneous. I'm capricious.
that we would definitely love that. The other one thing I would love to get from you, as
What?
corny as it gets, but I always get it, is and I'm recording this portion of the show, is what
Okay.
I call the sound bite.
Oh
Corny
gosh.
as it may be, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Is in my words, my version. This is how it goes. It would be, hey, I'm Eagle, and I'm on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 351. Catch it. You can add whatever you want to it. Please spice it up, make it your
Oh,
own. But in some point, this will be an advertisement for your
oh,
show,
oh,
just like
oh.
on the radio.
This is my first drop ever. Hold on a second. Oh my gosh. Okay, don't freak out. Hold on. Fucking talking shit with Eagle.
That's right.
Fucking talking
Yep.
shit with Eagle. 5 words. Fucking. Okay.
I'm ready anytime you are.
Hi, I am the Dank Duchess, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, and I'm having the most amazing time. Maybe I gotta do that over. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. Wait. I'm sorry. I overthink everything. What exactly are we getting across in this little soundbite besides the first little part?
The episode, mark the episode,
Okay.
call it,
Okay, give me 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Okay. This is episode 351. I'm on episode 351 of fucking talking shit with Eagle. And that's where it cuts off?
Well, you can say whatever you want. It's your soundbite. You can say whatever you want during the soundbite.
Okay, give
Hopefully,
me
it
one
just
second. Let
has
me just
those two
let me
things.
work it out. Let me work it out. Ah! Oh, I'm overthinking. Oh, hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry for not
Just
being like
go.
super quick on the draw on this one. Hold on a second.
Oh, it makes it more fun like this. It makes it more fun like this. These are the fun ones. These are the best ones.
Okay,
These are the
okay.
best ones.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say, but let's go for it. Oh, shoot. Some hash just fell. Oh, God. I just dropped hash.
It's the hash.
This is
No
me.
worries.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Hi. Okay. Okay. We go.
Anytime.
Okay. Mind you, my sign might be a little bit like corny. Sorry. Here goes. Okay. Hi, I am the Dank Duchess. Join me on episode 351 of Fucking Talking Shit with Eagle. We talk about hash, dabs, and it's quite a blast. See you there.
Perfect.
Bye. I'm
Perfect.
from grew up in the
Thank you so
80s.
much.
It's like an 80s like blurb.
This has
That's like my
been,
first job, y'all. My first job.
oh man. I hope you've had as much fun as I have had
I
tonight.
I
This has
am
been a
stoned,
super
Smiley's
fun
Garden,
episode.
but I had a great time. But let me just let you know, Smiley's Garden, I am stoned, but that is who I am. And you know what I'm saying? It's one of the best parts of this whole cannabis thing is I get to be who I am. I was telling my friend that like, although, you know, my real name is Sheila. Don't call me Sheila, but my brand is the Dank Duchess, but who I am and my brand is the same. So it doesn't matter whether I'm high or not. I get to just be me, and therefore I don't have to fake shit or remember shit because it's still just me. And I had a wonderful time here. I had a wonderful time. Most of the times I have like interviews, they're structured, or even if they're informal, they're definitely along a particular track. And I like that this went different ways. Thank you. It's a really nice way to start off my weekend. Thank you.
I hope you have a great weekend, and it has been a pleasure. It's been
It's
a
been an
pleasure. I've loved
absolute
the
pleasure.
backstory. It's been very informative and a lot of fun. I look forward to doing this again, hopefully sometime soon.
Ooh, I'm gonna jump into one of your wormholes. Best believe I had a good time. Thank you. And you know, just it was Clubhouse, right? You and I were in the same
Yep.
Clubhouse group. See, Clubhouse
Hmm.
doing all kinds of random things. I don't always love Clubhouse, but when I make these connections, that's where it's at. So I thank you for the time. I thank the entire audience for rocking with us through this whole time and for being so welcoming to me. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it.
You have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm going to go ahead and wind it up, and thanks again.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you guys for tuning in for 351. I know you guys have enjoyed this. I know I have. It's been a great night. Uh, it feels very good to be back doing this again. I can't thank everybody enough for tuning in. You guys know the deal. Please do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do indeed save lives. Hopefully, you guys will join me here in a few minutes in the wormhole. Thanks again for watching. You guys mean a lot. I love you guys. I'll see you in a few minutes.